It's Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for Season 6 of Fear the Walking Dead. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at something that was in the last episode that aired, Season 6, Episode 12, which was called In Dreams. There was a little bit of dialogue in this particular episode that could potentially have some sort of a clue about what might happen later on in the world of the Walking Dead, which involves both the CRM and Rick, and something else regarding Madison Clark and her potential return. Of course, if you have not yet watched this episode, Season 6, Episode 12, you probably don't want to watch this video because I will be talking about a pretty major part of the episode in order to explain this clue that was in there. So obviously, if you don't want to be spoiled about what actually happens in this episode, Season 6, Episode 12, you probably don't want to watch this video. But with that spoiler warning out of the way, stay tuned. We'll be right back to break these clues down. Alright, as always, before we jump into this, if you're not a subscriber and enjoy the content by the end, consider subscribing to join our community, share and smash the like button, and press the bell to be notified when we upload. With that said, let's get into it. So of course, the last episode of Fear was, I would say, 90% dream sequences and hallucinations. It was definitely a pretty dark and sad episode. If you haven't watched my reaction, it's on the channel, you can go and check it out. But the biggest part of this episode was something that actually happened at the very end, which was, again, spoiler alert for those of you who have not watched the episode, but we basically saw Grace survive childbirth, but the baby did not. So Athena, which we actually learned was going to be the name of the baby in the dream sequences, didn't survive. Now what's very interesting, and the reason I'm bringing this up, is because what we actually saw in the dream sequences is the opposite of what actually happened. So in the dream sequences, Athena survived. In reality, Athena didn't make it. Of course, in the dream sequences, we didn't really see whether Grace made it or not, but obviously she probably didn't make it because she walked into the light in those dream sequences. But in reality, of course, Grace survived. So that means whatever happened in the dream sequences is probably the opposite of what actually happens. Let's dive into the clues. So one of the clues that we actually saw was surrounding Alicia and what she might be doing far in the future. So in this dream sequence, Morgan actually told Grace that Alicia went back to the stadium where Madison was last seen. The people that joined Alicia were Luciana and Wes. Now, if we think about what I just said, which is that the dream sequence is the opposite of what actually happens in reality, that means that there's potentially a clue here about what might happen with Alicia. So based on this snippet of dialogue, we can predict it's possible that Alicia might actually go back to the stadium, just like Morgan mentioned in the dream sequence. But maybe unlike the dream sequence where Madison is actually still dead and Alicia just goes and sets up her own community in the stadium, in reality it's the opposite, where somehow Madison and Alicia might reunite and they might actually move away together to the stadium to set up their own community. Something along those lines. And of course, there's another bit of clue when it comes to Madison, some very solid clues about her return, which we're actually going to talk about on a separate video. But I think that if we kind of put all of these together, there's enough for us to make this very bold prediction, a situation where Madison comes back, reunites with Alicia, and they together go to the stadium where Madison was last seen, and they're gonna build that community the way that Madison imagined it to be, or what she was trying to do, what she was building towards. So that's the first piece of the clue. The second piece of this dialogue actually has to do with Althea. In that dream sequence again, Morgan tells Grace that Althea has gone away. She hasn't been seen for a while. Now, they didn't explicitly tell us where she was. It could be a clue. So where could Althea be? The first thing that actually came to my mind when I heard that was Althea may actually end up going to the CRM. And there's obviously a lot of clues when it comes to Althea and her possible exit from the story in fear, and for her to be in a position where she could enter the CRM storyline, cross over into the movies. If we step back a little bit and think about what I said earlier, which is that everything that they say in the dream sequence is the opposite of what actually happens in reality, what could potentially end up happening is a situation where Althea doesn't actually make it out of this season. Everyone is expecting her to make it, and everyone is expecting her to have a connection to the CRM in some way, shape, or form. But what if that doesn't happen? What if she ends up dying by the end of the season? Again, this is a bold prediction that we can make based on the foundation that whatever is in the dream sequence is the opposite of what actually happens in reality. There's another piece of this as well. There's a scene where we actually see Danny Salazar cutting Strand's hair, and then Grace asks Morgan whether they're friends now, and Morgan says something like that. And I think even that is some sort of a clue. Again, going back to the thing about everything being opposite, it could be an Easter egg or a clue that Strand and Danny's relationship is gonna get rocky again, and they may actually butt heads at some point again in season 6. But again, this is another bold prediction. So 3 bold predictions based on what we saw in the dream sequences. One is that Madison's gonna return and reunite with Alicia, and they're gonna build a community at the stadium. The second bold prediction is that Althea is going to end up trying to get to CRM but getting killed before she can. And the third bold prediction is that Danny and Strand's relationship is going to get rocky again. And who knows, this time around, one of them may end up getting killed at the end of that rocky relationship. Because if we think about it, both of them have tried to kill each other at this point. So maybe the next time things won't go as smoothly as they have so far. But with all of those out of the way, I'm definitely very interested to know everyone's thoughts and opinions about this. What do you think is gonna happen? Do you think that these things that were in the dream sequence are a clue about what might happen? Obviously, like I said, it might be the opposite because it was the opposite when it comes to Grace and Athena. And also, if you think these things are going to happen, do you think they're going to happen by the end of the season, or do you think they're going to stretch it out and have it take place throughout season 6 and season 7 as well? So share your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to share and smash the like button and press the bell to be notified when we upload. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.